Yo, good morning, good evening, good night, good all time zones. Hope you're having a good week. Not a whole lot of Blue Protocol Star Resonance news for global, and believe me, I'm waiting just like the rest of you. But all we can do is just sit tight and wait. And I'm doing my best to keep track of all the Blue Protocol Star Resonance news. You know, there's only so much I can do. I'm following the social media accounts, following what the other moderators in the database Discord, you know, what they're doing and what they're following, is not very easy when Bokura themselves are not really super communicative with the global audience yet. But hey, it's still a lot better than what we had a year ago. Anyway, recently there was a live stream for Blue Protocol Star Resonance's Chinese version. They had a bit of a special program. If you have played other games, then, this is basically the equivalent to a dev water cooler, or if you played Final Fantasy XIV, basically the live letter. And for the Chinese audience, they had such a showing, and it was basically to show what kind of content they can expect to see on the launch of their version of the game. Somebody was streaming the live stream, and I decided to watch them watch the live stream. Now, why does this matter to global? Well, a lot of the things said in the live stream could very well be very important to the global version of the game. Maybe not everything will be the exact same. It won't be completely parallel. Maybe there are certain aspects about the game that will change for the Western audience to better suit them. Who knows? But I think it's important to keep track of what's, in the Chinese version, because it's an idea of what we can expect over here in global. I have a sticky note, all right? Don't judge me. I use sticky notes. I write things down. I don't use my smartphone, all right? I think it's bad that we're glued to our smartphones and we just... So I wrote a bunch of notes, pertaining to what has been mentioned in the stream. And there's a lot of stuff. There's many, many things that were mentioned. I only wrote down what I think is the most important. If you guys want, you can also watch the entire live stream on Bilibili. Easy to search for. Or if you'd like, I'll leave behind a link to another YouTuber's stream down below in the description of the video. Big shout out to KaiiZutto, by the way, and some of the moderators from the BPSR Database Discord for keeping track and for translating live. That's nuts. That must have been tough. But that's awesome. Thank you for that. I'm also here to, just offer my own insight, my own opinions, and, bring up some sort of discussion. Now, of course, there's a lot of talk about class balancing. Doesn't mean much right now since we don't have our hands on the game yet, but, they are working on it. This is more about balancing things from the beta and making it more playable and more fun for the release of the game. What's really interesting, though, is the gold gear pity system that was mentioned. Gear seems to be coming in different varieties of quality. I'm assuming it's got to be like blue, green, purple, yellow, common, rare, legendary, whatever. Gold, no idea how high up the food chain that is. Maybe someone from the beta knows and can, explain that to me. But there is apparently a gold gear pity system. For those who don't, play gacha games and don't know what a pity system is, it boils down to you keep farming for an item and eventually you will get it. Your chances of obtaining said item increase every few or so pulls or drops. So you may get the item in like 50 runs, 60 runs, 70 runs, who knows? Otherwise, it's just a chance. That's honestly good. That's very good. That adds a deterministic way to obtain gear, not this endless grinding and farming. But there are also other obtainable ways to obtain said gear. They didn't mention what, those ways were. Not all of them anyway. But we will have multiple avenues to gain gear. Parties. I think this is specifically for dungeon parties. Parties formed as 1 tank, 1 healer, 3 DPS will have a 25% damage buff. I wasn't even aware that you could form a party in a dungeon outside of the Holy Trinity, but apparently you can. I don't know why you would do that, but if you want to run a degenerate party, it's fair game, I suppose. All right, so this basically encourages people to play a specific party composition and meta. I think this is fine. First dungeon clears give you a gold gear drop, and you can choose which gear drop you would like. That's awesome. More deterministic ways to get gear. I'm not a fan of, this whole getting on the treadmill endlessly to chase the carrot at the end of the stick. At least lower the stick to me when, I get better and better at the treadmill. I do wonder if this only pertains to certain difficulty levels of a dungeon, like normal mode, hard mode, etc. Talk more about that in a bit. The Guitarist class was shown and previewed on the live stream. We got some gameplay and combat. Apparently it'll have 2 talent trees just like every other class. Raging Tone is the DPS version, and Co-op Tone is the support version. What's shown in the showcase was like, what guitarists do. They rock out and they jam. They do damage in melee range. It appears to be melee range. Kind of odd for a guitarist class. I thought that would have been a range class. Seems more like mid-range, actually. They can put down an amplifier on the ground to do their buffing, which is a pretty cool way. Pretty on theme. That's awesome. Again, I'm looking forward to the Guitarist class the most. Hopefully Global gets the Guitarist on launch like the Chinese player base will. Most definitely will, right? You can change a character's class through the Class Stone, which costs some in-game currency. I believe bound rose orbs, they were called. I do wonder about that. I love making alternate characters for various reasons. One, to try out different classes and specs, builds. Another reason is like sometimes I just like rocking different characters for different vibes, different aesthetics, different appearances. But yeah, I do wonder how problematic that would be if I want to try as many classes as possible. You can create 3 characters under each account. Only 3? That's a lot less than other games. Although this is a free-to-play game, so there's gonna be some compromises. I really hope they let you at least purchase extra character slots, because it would be nice to try out every class in the game. And to rewind a little bit, I wonder if the Class Stone lets you switch between character specs, like going from DPS to heals and vice versa with the Guitarist. Will that be done through the Class Stone, or will that be done separately from the Class Stone? The Class Stone literally just, affects different classes, or does it affect builds as well? Chinese beta players, if you have something to say, again, please leave a comment under the video and inform me, because there's only so much information that I can glean from, all this stuff. I didn't get to play the beta. Moving on, they displayed some dungeons that will be coming with the launch of the game. One new dungeon that was probably not in the beta, some kind of shadow bulk, whatever it's called, dungeon. It comes with a Berserk Guts guy. I call him Berserk Guts guy as the dungeon boss. Seems really edgy and cool. That is gotta be one of the sickest designs for a MMO dungeon boss, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when he transforms. Holy, oh man, I can't wait to try that out. I mean, he's doing the whole stance, right? The sword on the back, hunchback. That is totally Guts. Clearly they've been inspired by Berserk. That great sword, dude. Said dungeon will come in 4 different difficulty levels. I'm not sure if this will also be available with the other dungeons. I'm going to assume that all the other dungeons will have multiple difficulty levels. But apparently it's getting normal, hard, extreme, and nightmare. That is 4 whopping difficulty levels. That's a lot. I have not seen that many difficulty levels for a single dungeon since World of Warcraft. I think WoW is the only game that I've played. And WoW, they have like LFR, which is the easiest mode. They have normal, heroic, mythic. So interesting that they are going down this angle as well. Not sure what that's going to mean for the balance of the dungeons, if they're going to be significantly harder. No idea what the difficulty curve is going to be like, but I can probably assume that, based on experiences from other MMOs, I'm thinking normal might be the easy casual experience. Hard mode would be the actual normal mode. Extreme will be hard. Nightmare will be pretty hard. We'll see. I wonder if there's going to be any mechanical differences between these difficulty levels. For example, normal mode will have a baseline, mechanical thing going on. And then as it gets harder, they start introducing new mechanics for the dungeon. Or maybe it's just as simple as damage numbers go up, boss has more health. If that's the case, that would be less interesting. I would hope that it's the more mechanical complexity route. We'll have to wait and see. They also mentioned 20-player raids. The Chinese launch of the game is getting a 20-player raid called Divine Dragon Prison. Oh my god, that sounds cool. You need at least 10 players before you can actually do the raid. That makes me wonder, can you do this raid with just 10 people and it just auto-adjusts the more players you have? Is this a raid basically between 10 to 20 players? That's what I'm wondering. World of Warcraft does something like this as well. They have an auto-adjustable raid system. I don't know, I haven't played WoW in ages. That's just something that I remember. This raid will have 3 bosses. Each and every boss is, wait for it, every boss is a dragon. Whoa, ain't no way. I bet you didn't see that coming. But yeah, that's cool. 3 dragons, and they'll be staggered releases, meaning they'll supposedly release a boss every week or so. So players will, be introduced to one boss, the next week, the next boss, and then the following week, the final boss. And then immediately after, players will be able to do the raid with all bosses in a row. That'll be interesting. I also wonder if the raid will have multiple difficulty levels, just like the dungeons. Meaning, will it also have a normal mode, a hard mode, extreme? I don't think they mentioned anything about that. Please let me know if you know something about that. Housing was definitely mentioned here. It was shown. We have footage of the housing system in play, and it looks pretty robust. I'm not gonna lie. The tools, they look more elaborate, there's a lot more you can do with these tools than other housing decoration systems from other video games. I can only talk about like Final Fantasy XIV's housing decoration system and Guild Wars 2's decoration system. Not sure if you can resize objects, scale them, or clip them through other objects. You can do this for some of the other games. We do see positioning tools and some other things. It's hard to say because I can't read Chinese. There's a planting system, you can garden, and you can unlock your house through some quests. Basically, everyone can obtain a house for free. Thank goodness. I don't have to hunt for a house. I don't have to wait for a plot to open. I don't have to deal with some stupid casino thing. I don't have to gamble for a house. I don't have to create some bot, to camp a spot so I can buy a house. Final Fantasy XIV players, I'm pretty sure you understand my pain. Some functionalities about the house will be staggered as well. They're releasing basic functionality at first, and then more features will be unlocked via updates later in the season or later in the year. I should also mention, I want to apologize for my last video when I mentioned that I misunderstood from the news last time. I thought the housing would only allow up to 5 players. No, I misread. It is basically only up to 5 people can live with you, can cohabitate with you in said house. My fault. I'm big dumb brain. I have dumb brain. I'm very smooth brained. Sometimes I miss details like that. I am so sorry. But yeah, I hope you can invite a lot more than 5. That is an aspect about housing in Final Fantasy XIV that I really, really enjoyed. Getting a large group of people and just hanging out, role-playing, a cafe, a pizza parlor, some opera house, or a nightclub. Those were good times. Those would make some awesome, social moments in the game, and I think every MMO should have something like that. As for the monetization of the game, it will have gacha, it will have a battle pass, and it will have cash shop items. No duh. It's a free-to-play game. Of course it's gonna have all that stuff. That's to be expected. What is interesting here, though, is that most of it, if not all, seems to be earnable in-game too. Not entirely sure to what extent, but It seems like a lot of these items can be put on the auction house. I have no idea if that means players can put cash shop items on the auction house and trade it for gold or whatever currency, or if the game itself provides those items through the auction house. That remains to be clear to me. Can players, just purchase something and put it on the auction house? Am I misinterpreting something here too? Please, I don't want to make any more mistakes. This part, could definitely change for the global version of the game. I would suspect that maybe a lot of these can be earnable in-game for the global version. I would hope so. This is very much like Guild Wars 2's monetization system. Over there, everything is earnable through in-game gold, including all cash shop items. The only exception are the expansions, I believe. I am all for that. That's great. Free-to-players don't have to feel like they need to pay money to get all stuff. Doesn't seem to be any pay-to-win, at least not direct-to-buy power. There may be pay-for-convenience options. I do wonder if that also includes pay for progression. Because to me, the whole pay-to-win subject is a very volatile subject because pay-to-win means something different for every individual. But for me personally, even paying to skip progression is some form of pay-to-win. Over the years, I've come to get a little loose when it comes to that stuff. As long as it's not too egregious, I am fine with a little bit of that. It is mainly a PvE game, and I get my enjoyment by just chilling out, playing, exploring the game. I'm not too concerned about competing with others, but this is going to be a contention point for other people, not specifically for me. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's not too bad. We'll just have to wait for the global version to come out and see how that exactly is implemented. Oh, I forgot to mention, swimsuits. Oh, the Chinese players are so damn lucky. What is this? They have swimsuits already for the summer event? Please, what about us? Do we get those? Are we gonna miss out on those? Because the global version might come out later in the fall. I suspect later in the year. We haven't even got our beta yet. Look, man, I'm just a big fan of fan service, all right? I watch anime. Of course I'm a fan of fan service. Here's hoping. And of course, a DPS meter. No idea if this is a personal meter or a meter that is applied to the whole party. Y'all know what a DPS meter is. If you played other MMOs, if you played Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, then you know exactly what a DPS meter is. For me, this is a bit of a... It's got me a bit reserved whenever a DPS meter is mentioned in a video game, because I come from World of Warcraft. I've played World of Warcraft for more than 12 years, and DPS meters in that game have been a very contentious thing. Basically, they have provided a very negative impact towards that game and has affected the community as a whole. And to some extent, this has also been a negative impact for Final Fantasy XIV. Doesn't seem to be nearly as much of an impact on the Guild Wars 2 community in terms of toxicity. It creates opportunities for players to be toxic towards one another because they're comparing their big EPing. I don't like that. But again, every game community is different, and I am hoping that the Blue Protocol Star Resonance community doesn't end up in that direction, in the WoW direction. Not super big on the DPS meter, but if this is more personal, then I can see this being not as big of a deal. And there's a car mount. My fantasy game's already getting a car mount. What's next? A rocket ship? Am I getting an iPhone? Can I get a Roomba? I'm kidding. That's cool. All right, a car mount. Awesome. No idea how that's obtainable. It seems to be through some sort of event. No idea if Global is getting that. So there you have it. That's basically the rundown of what's most important that was mentioned in the live stream. Again, all of this is technically subject to change for the global version. I imagine most of it is gonna be in the global version, and some parts will probably be adjusted. To what extent? No idea. We can only wait and find out. Anyway, thank you guys for making it this far into the video and listening to me ramble on about, stuff. I will try to get into the beta myself. No guarantees, but you know, if I do get lucky enough, I will definitely be playing and streaming the game on YouTube and Twitch. If you want to find me, all the relevant social media links are down below in the description of the video. Like, comment, subscribe, helps a lot with the video, helps with the algorithm. Show some support to all the BPSR small content creators. Big shout out to some of the moderators in the BPSR database, namely Kai for, you know, streaming the live stream, and I believe their name was Sparrow or somebody? Someone who translated live. You guys are awesome, and I am looking forward to more. If you're curious to see what kind of content I do, I mean, you can just check my YouTube channel. I do a variety of games, mostly anime games because anime is my passion. I also do Guild Wars 2 content, that's another MMO. I do gacha games like Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, and some other Eastern-centric games. So if any of that is your jam, then come and join me. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see y'all in the game at some point. Stay safe, be kind to each other, and I will catch y'all later.